Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live presentation titled OPC UA and DA Conversion. My name is Randy Condor, and I am the presenter today. This webinar is titled OPC UA and DA Conversion. In this case, we'll be talking about the problem itself and the problem we're trying to solve and the solution to this problem. And I will show you how to do this with OPC Expert to convert from OPC DA to UA, and also how to convert from UA to DA. Also, I'll show you how to create some shortcut servers. At the very end, I'll show you how to get more training, download the apps, and of course, get this webinar recording. So as you all know, OPC is a very, very common connectivity method today, and there are many, many available OPC applications. Really, there are a lot of them. Now, most of them support either OPC DA or UA, but not both. So they may support DA but not UA, or UA but not DA. If they support both, this particular webinar isn't for you. But if they only support one or the other but not both, this is for you. And in this case, we have to convert between OPC UA and DA. What it means is if you have a UA server and you've got a DA client, you need something in the middle to convert. Or if you have a DA server and a UA client, again, you need something in the middle to make that conversion happen. Now, the key features we're talking about is, again, here's the OPC server, whether it's UA or DA, and here's the OPC client. Here's that converter in the middle. So as far as Windows support, we're talking Windows Workstation, so XP all the way to Windows 11, or on the Windows Server side, from Windows 2003 all the way to Windows 2022. So pretty much every Windows Server and every Windows Workstation version out there. Now, you can also connect remotely to either non-Windows or to earlier versions of Windows. As far as communication support, we're talking about OPC UA, so OPC UA DA, UA HA, UA alarms and conditions. So all the common specifications that are used, as well as OPC Classic, DA, HDA, and alarms and events. So you can see how this conversion is happening here. So both OPC UA and OPC Classic. And I have to point out, people pointed this out from previous webinars, that when people say OPC DA, really what they usually mean is OPC Classic. So OPC Classic, OPC DA, pretty much synonymous. If we talk specifically about UA DA, people would say OPC UA DA. In any case, we are talking about OPC UA and OPC Classic. So you can connect to both local and remote OPC servers using dcom and using all the OPC UA transport protocols, TCP/IP, HTTP, HTTPS, or even MQTT. And very importantly, this all executes as a Windows service, which is really very important because this enables OPC Expert and whatever else to start up automatically as soon as Windows starts, even if there is no user logged on. The architecture is really very important here. So what I'll show you here is everything that's in, not everything, but most of the things that are inside OPC Expert. So here's OPC Expert, and what we're going to look at here is what is inside. So we begin with an OPC DA client, OPC Classic client, OPC UA client. So both of these are inside OPC Expert. Now that information goes into OPC Expert's intelligent engine. So this is what makes decisions. And from there, it can go to OPC Classic servers, or an OPC Classic server, or an OPC UA server. So what that means is you can bring in information, and of course information can get out via clients, so UA and OPC Classic, and also OPC Classic getting out with servers, or OPC UA. So at the very heart of this, when we're converting, we read UA, we send out DA. We receive something with DA, we send out UA. And the same over on this side. So from UA all the way to DA, as you see here. Now, there are plenty of other modules. For example, there's an Excel RTD. There's a module to create Excel file. There's another module to exchange data with databases like Microsoft SQL, or CSV files, or Access, or whatever you want. There's a module to bring in data with different clients, OPC Expert's own API, or an MQTT subscriber, or OPC Alarms Events, OPCTI, and so on. I didn't show you everything, just some of the highlights. And also on top, you can send data out with REST API. Or there is the MQTT publisher. And of course, OPC Expert also includes fans out there. Now, once again, all of this is included inside OPC Expert. So all of these are modules inside OPC Expert. But in this particular webinar, we're talking about these modules over here. So OPC UA Classic and UA clients, and OPC Classic and UA servers, all of which are inside OPC Expert. So we'll do a little demo here, and what I'll show you are two computers. So we have here a computer called OPC01 and another one called OPC02. We have a DA server on computer OPC02, and we will be reading it with a UA application. So this is something people do very, very often. In other words, they have a UA client. Say, for example, you've got Ignition, which is a UA client, and you need to connect to a DA server. Well, what you need in the middle is a converter right here. So this converter is going to speak OPC DA to this OPC DA server. This is a PLC. So it's going to speak OPC DA directly to this OPC DA server, and it will send out OPC UA. So it's converting from OPC Classic to OPC UA. This client can then pick up this information using OPC UA. What you notice is that OPC UA is on the network. Now, if you've got a DA client and a UA server, I'll show you that next. But right now, we're talking about a DA server here and a UA client on the network. So, but what I want to point out is OPC UA is on the network. OPC Classic is local. So let's take a look at this. I have two computers set up. So there's OPC01 and OPC02. So you can see there's OPC01 and OPC02 right over here. For the client over here, we will use UA Expert, and I'll make these bigger so you can see them better. So we'll use UA Expert. Why? It's a simple UA client that only supports UA. It does not support DA. So if we're getting a connection, you know for sure this is being done with OPC DA. On this side, we're going to be running a DA server, and we'll actually use the Iconics OPC DA server. So let's first begin over here on this computer containing the DA server, and that's where I will run OPC Expert. So here we go. Here's the computer itself. There is OPC Expert. Before I start anything, I want to show you what's inside here, and as you can see, there's nothing. It's only the executable. So when I run it, so when I double click it, you can see it immediately extracts all the files it needs before running. Second time you do this, it doesn't need to extract the files, but that means there is no installation. There's absolutely no installation here and no changes to Windows registry. It's really very important because that's what you want to do when you're looking at audited systems. You do not want to mess up your own systems. Okay, so here is OPC Expert. We're going to browse this PC. And again, I want to point out, so you can see it browse, and we're trying to connect to this DA server, which is local. That's why I'm browsing my own PC. So here we go. We browsed it. We found this Iconics OPC server right here. This is the one we'll be connecting to. I won't bother even connecting with OPC Expert, and I don't even have to browse. I just wanted to show you. Now, OPC Expert, there's OPC Expert UA server right over here. That's what we will be connecting to. So this one here, this here is this right here. So you can see the URL is the name of the local computer, which is OPC02, and it is on port 57888. So it's on port 57888. That's the default port. So over here, when we run this client, we will tell this client. So we're going to tell the client over here to connect to port to this URL, which is OPC02:57888. In any case, here we go. So I've got OPC Expert running over here. We'll go over here. I'll close this. We don't need it anymore. And let's go over. So that is OPC02. We looked at this one. It's already set up. No installation. Now let's go over to this computer where we will be running the OPC UA application. So make it a bit bigger. Here we go. So in here, and just to point out, OPC Expert was copied here, but it's not running in any way. And we can take a look at Task Manager, where we can see OPC Expert is not running. I should really close this so it doesn't take up my CPU. There we go. That's RustDesk. It's got nothing to do with OPC. Okay, so here we go. There's OPC Expert, which we're not using at this point. There is UA Expert. So I run UA Expert. Here we go. And I will click the big plus here, and I will remove this just so you see. So double click to add a server in case network browsing doesn't work. And sure enough, remember I said it was OPC02:57888. Enter. We open it up. Sure enough, we find it. And we can connect with some security or not, doesn't matter. Let's connect like this. We'll say okay. And here we go. We are connected. All right, so let's expand data pool. We will expand OPC02. And there's that Iconics OPC server. You notice it's a DA server. It is not UA. You can also see we can connect to the Kepware DA server as well, or even to the Kepware UA server. And that's actually via the converter. So it's going from UA to UA. Not particularly useful at this point, but something you could use later on. Okay, so in this case, there's the Iconic server. We open it up. I'll open up numeric. I'll choose, say, 3 items here. Drag, drop them, and sure enough, we can see the values. So we're seeing the values. I'll get rid of this. Let me just make this a little bit smaller so that you can see the qualities. We'll make this a bit smaller. Don't need it anymore. And you can see the status code is good. All right. So now, how do you really know that you are connected to the remote OPC server? So how do you know that I'm not cheating you? Well, one way to do it I'm telling you that we're connected this way. So one way for me to do it, for example, is I can kill this DA server. So go to Task Manager. We'll go to the Details tab, make it bigger. Go to the Details tab. And we will go find the simulator OPC DA server. That's the server. That's the server that's running right now. And I will kill it. You can see the process ID is 72. Watch what happens when I kill it. I'm going to kill it. We'll go back here and check this out. You can see the quality is good, and although the numbers stop changing, OPC Expert realizes it's bad. Look at that, it's bad. OPC Expert then goes ahead and says, hey, I lost my connection, and I will reconnect. So it reconnects, automatically runs that OPC server again, and sure enough, there are the values coming again. Now, also, OPC Expert right now is running as a regular interactive user application. As you can see here, it's running as the interactive user. So if I close it, it will stop. It's not running as a service. So to run it as a service, I can go to Tools, Options, and make it a bit bigger for you. So Tools, Options, and I will go to Services and Servers, check Service, OPC Expert UA Server. You can see there are other services available. There's MQTT, for example, or REST API. And I will click OK, and I'll immediately, just to show you, go into Task Manager. So there's OPC Expert, and now you can see OPC Expert UA Server is running as the system account. While that was happening, UA Expert lost the connection, but then it gets it right back. So now what that means is I can close. There's OPC Expert. I can close this. System tray is this one right here. I can close this too, just to show. There's OPC Expert UA Server. I will even kill it just to show that it comes back on its own. So you can see it's not there. We lost the connection. The service starts up automatically, and UA Expert immediately is able to reconnect and get the data. There we go. You can see that the data is coming once again. So what we've seen now, and I will actually remove all this now, just so you see it. So we get rid of all the services. I'll get rid of this. We'll close this one over here. We'll show everything in here. We will just delete everything. And I'm only deleting it so that you can see that everything can be deleted. So we got to get rid of simulate tilde 2. That's the OPC server. It was running, and as a result, there we go. Oh, and one more here. And you can see that everything is back. We were able to remove everything. So you can remove this, no damage, no changes to Windows Registry when you run OPC Expert. Okay, so we've got this going now, cleaned up even. Make it smaller again. So that's this computer. And what we just showed is a connection to an OPC DA server via this guy right here, which was the DA to UA converter. So now it's from a DA server to a UA client. But what happens if you've got a UA server and a DA client? So we'll go to the next slide. And here, and I just want to take a look at the difference. So this was the initial slide, this was the initial slide, DA server to UA client. Look at the difference. So here's the next slide. What you notice is, number one, look at OPC Expert. OPC Expert was on this PC, so you got a local DA connection, UA on the network. And now it's on this PC with the local DA connection and UA on the networks. Now we have a UA server here and a DA server right here. So there's a UA server, and this now is going to convert UA to DA once again. So to do this, you notice OPC Expert is on this computer. The UA server is over here. So first I'll run a UA server over here. So on OPC02, we will run the OPC Foundation sample server. So here we go. I'm running the OPC Foundation sample server. There it is. It's running. So that's this one right over here. It's running. So now we're going to run, we're going to set up OPC Expert right over on OPC01. We're actually done on here. So let's go back to OPC01. Here we are. And again, we're going to run OPC Expert here. And just to show you once again, the only thing on here is only OPC Expert.exe. And what we will do is set up what's called a mimic. So I run OPC Expert and it extracts all the files again. So you can see it's extracting all the files, everything it needs. It's extracting right away. And here we go. And I will close this. And remember, I'm just showing it to you so you see that there is nothing, nothing involved, no tricks. Okay, so here is OPC Expert. Now remember, what we want to do is to connect to OPC02. Of course, like in most cases, network browsing no longer works. This is not an OPC Expert thing. This is just disabled on the network. So we double click to add a computer, and it's called computer OPC02. And I will browse it so I can find that UA server, which is right here. Also pay attention to what's available on my PC. And on my PC, looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 OPC DA servers and 2 UA servers. Now you notice I don't have an OPC server for the UA sample server. It doesn't exist here because the UA sample server is on OPC02. So again, the server is here. The client is going to be here. I'm running OPC Expert over here, and I just browse to here. So what I need to do is to tell OPC Expert to set this guy up here as the converter. So here, I just right-click it, add mimic. Really, really easy. Add mimic, and I can leave the names as they are by default, but just to make a point, so there's, I'll call it UA sample, and I'll call this UA sample. I can call it whatever I want. I'm just making it very, very short here. Obviously, in your case, you might want to include a computer name, but whatever. I'll click OK. And now it's going to be nice and short. And look, we are rebrowsing, and sure enough, there is the UA sample server. Now, to show you what's going on, Task Manager, there is OPC Expert running. I will close this one. So I will close OPC Expert. I will even close this system tray. So that's this system tray right here. That's this guy right over here. Exit. Okay. Now we will run OPC Quick Client. And remember, OPC Quick Client is not able to browse any, is only able to connect to OPC DA. One of the problems here is I can't even browse. I can't even show OPC02, so I can't even browse it because, of course, network browsing is disabled. But that's okay, because over here I see UA sample. This is actually coming from the UA server. And you notice I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servers now, just like we saw in OPCX. So it starts, OPC Expert Data Server. That's the converter. So this connects to the UA sample server on one side with OPC UA, and Quick Client is connecting to this one with DA. Again, Quick Client is connecting with DA, and OPC Expert is connecting remotely with UA. So in this case, what's very cool is I can add a group, I can add items. So look at this. I can browse that server right away. There is dynamic and scalar. And sure enough, I'm going to take int, uint, int 32. Yeah, that's good. I'll take byte value, add leaves, and click OK. And UA OPC Quick Client is showing me the data types, it's showing me the values, it's showing me, as you can see, these are all different. The timestamps, the quality, which is good. It's all converted to OPC DA from UA. So just like this. So there are the number of updates. Now watch this. How do we know we're really connected? Well, what if I kill this OPC UA server? So I'll make this a bit smaller. There you go. Now you can see what updates are. You can see that the values are good. You can clearly see updates coming. I will close this. And look at this. As most of you know, with Quick Client, if you lose the connection to the server, quality doesn't change. But in this case, because we're going through OPC Expert, it fixes the issue. And you can see the quality is bad. So you can see the quality is bad. These are the last known values. And when we start up the server again, OPC Expert immediately recognizes that the server is back up and reconnects us. So the quality is now good. And here we are, we're getting updates once again. So hopefully this is making sense to everyone. And what you're seeing is that we can connect to OPC DA servers and UA servers. We can make that conversion. Now, what I also want to point out, hang on. Let's look at the previous slide. So there was OPC Expert again, local DA connection. In this case, it's a remote DA connection. If I were to have OPC Expert on both sides, it would be a tunnel. So on both sides, it would be a tunnel. But in this case, we see what's called a half tunnel. So it's a half tunnel. There's only one OPC Expert running. That's all we need right over here for this half tunnel. And what you see is that in this case, the OPC Classic communication is local. And in the second case, OPC Classic communication is once again local. Both of them are local. And it's OPC UA on the network. Now, what I showed you was a connection to only one OPC DA server here, but of course you can connect to many, and you can have this on multiple PCs. Similarly, you can connect to one UA server or multiple UA servers. In this case, here's a UA server that's embedded on a PLC. It's embedded on a PLC right over here. So OPC Expert can make both of those connections simultaneously. So it can connect to multiple computers, multiple PLCs simultaneously, also multiple OPC servers on the same PC, so there's no problem. And of course, there's no limitation on the number of items. So Larry, you're asking about limitations. There are no limitations on the number of items, no limitations on the number of servers or the number of computers, OPC or speed. OPC Expert does not impose any of these limitations. Okay, now this ends the demonstration. I'll just say a few more words for those of you that need to leave, and then I will get back to the questions you asked during the webinar itself. So guys, please keep the questions coming. So for automated troubleshooting, you can download OPC Rescue or download OPC Expert. You can view and diagnose your connections quite easily. With OPC Expert, when you download it, also with OPC Rescue, you're only going to get one executable, as I showed you, and then it's going to extract all of the files that it requires. So with OPC Expert, of course, it can do all this stuff, and we have separate webinars on these topics. But in this webinar specifically, we talked about converting from UA to DA and DA to UA, and also we covered OPC specifications right over here. Now, if you want to learn more, come to one of our hands-on learning classes. Training. So we have vendor neutral training where you can earn your certified OPC professional designations. These classes are hands-on. So you learn how to configure dcom, how to configure OPC UA, how to configure access control lists and user accounts and what's required and what isn't. So you troubleshoot these systems. You learn to properly secure systems, which means you don't just give permissions to everyone. You make it very, very, very tight. So we turn on the firewalls, we remove access from these access control lists. And of course, you learn OPC best practices throughout all of this. You also get 2 computers, which you configure yourself. So you install applications, you mess them up, you fix them. Then, of course, we mess them up, and then you have to fix them. So you learn to troubleshoot these things, and they're really meant for you to be able to step out of the class and right into the plant and be productive immediately. And again, this is all vendor neutral. We use software from various vendors, partners of ours for the training. So it's actually very, very cool. Now, these workshops, we provide them remote, and they are live. So these are live remote classes. They're not recorded. It's a live instructor. It's very interactive. And of course, what that means is no travel. So that's what we offer for public classes. We also periodically have on-site public, I shouldn't say on-site, but in specific cities all over the world. So you can go to our website to take a look at the latest schedule. So we also offer private training. So if you want it specifically for your business, either online or remote training or on-site, both are good. We provide that for you. And you can look for dates at OPCTI.com. All right, last slide here. So we're going to send you an email with very specific links here, with a link to the webinar recording, that's this webinar, with link to a case study, case studies, I should really say, video tutorials showing you how to configure OPC Expert for DA to UA or UA to DA on both sides. You will take a look at, there's a link to download OPC Expert, and you'll get links to for more resources to learn more at OPCTI.com and OPCExpert.com. You'll also get an invitation to our next webinar. Now, any questions, please go ahead, send them to info@OPCTI.com or give us a shout. So again, folks, this is the end of the formal portion of the webinar. I've shown you the demonstrations. I gave you a talk about the theory behind all this. And now I will get back to the questions that you were asking. But again, if you need to leave, go ahead. Those of you that wanted to stay longer, please go ahead and ask whatever questions you had in mind, and I will cover them here.